From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or at usamotorandmachine.com.
All Cooper CPAs, located in the heart of East Nashville, offer a wide variety of tax services for individuals and businesses. Contact them at 615-257-0646 and visit their website, allcooper.com, for a full list of services.
Coming up next on Pit Pass, has it become NASCAR as the world turns and the IRL has become Peyton Place? We'll talk about that and why. Hey, there's a new long-range plan that's been presented for the fairgrounds, and not a lot of us are going to like it. And yet we've got more news from all around. Daytona's on the way. Highland Rim has special announcements. All that and more coming up next with Larry Woody on Pit Pass.
Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batter's Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batter's Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show. Today's show is brought to you by locally owned and operated Highland Rim Speedway. Highland Rim Speedway is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year with great short track door-to-door stock car racing in a safe, family-friendly atmosphere. Visit their website at highlandrim.com.
Microcasting for your city. Talkopolis.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome in to Pit Pass. I'm Joe Williams, along with my idol, Larry Woody. And Larry, we were just making sure we both still had our wedding rings because is it Peyton Place?
Has Danica called you yet?
No, I don't think she's going to either. In the world of NASCAR and the IZOD IndyCar racing, I think is what Russ Thompson told us the official name was supposed to be. Open-wheeled, ground-sucking widowmakers is what I still call them. It has been an interesting couple of weeks for both of these groups. Danica Patrick, arguably, Larry, behind Dale Earnhardt Jr., the most popular driver in NASCAR?
The most recognized, celebrated.
Certainly. There we go. Yep. There's the word.
Yep.
I wouldn't say most popular, but most recognized.
Yep.
She still catches some grief from some folks who just don't believe that there's a place in the sport.
And a ton of fans, right up with Junior and the number of fans, for better or worse, she does have a following.
Yeah. And, I think, several weeks ago, months ago, she announced that she and her husband were calling it quits. There was an age difference and a lot of, and apparently it was a very amicable, agreeable separation. And I think everybody turned around and went, oh, okay, here's the answer for Dale Jr.
Who's also single.
And
semi-available. I think he's got a girlfriend, but he's nothing.
But he keeps her quiet. He keeps her hid.
No contracts have been signed as far as we know. But anyway, you're right. What a match made in NASCAR heaven.
And exactly. Let me qualify what I said when I said he keeps her hid. He keeps her protected is what I meant. It's not. He's protective and doesn't want her to be exposed or catch the volatile, if you will, of our sports.
She stays kind of in the shadows.
Yeah. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who runs for Roush Racing's won a couple of nationwide titles, may have won the hand.
He's the boyfriend, apparently. Well, not apparently, he is the boyfriend. We kind of teased this a couple of weeks ago that there might be some news concerning Danica Patrick coming out. And sure enough, we held off on it for a couple of weeks, but it's been confirmed now. Danica and Ricky Stenhouse are an item.
You called this one early.
Boyfriend and girlfriend, as we old-timers say.
You saw this early. I never saw this one coming.
I didn't either. I knew that there was that Danica had a new boyfriend, and I had heard that he was involved in racing some way, but I hadn't heard a name. And as we're talking off there, Joe, if you made a list of 100 eligible candidates for who Danica's boyfriend would be, I'm not sure Ricky would have made the cut, but he's it. She's, let's see, Danica's, 30 and Ricky's 25. But
it's not bad.
No, and they've got a lot of common interests. They're both race drivers, both personable people. So
I know when I was 25, there was a lot to be said for older women.
There is. When I was 8 years old.
And I'm twice that now, and it still may be.
Little girl with pigtails in the 3rd grade, but that's a different story.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
No, and Joe, I guess, and the other part of the segue, obviously, is that Dario Franchitti and Ashley Judd have announced they're going separate ways also. And the storyline, I guess, is at what point do these kind of stories become sort of public domain, and are they legit to spend a big segment of a racing show discussing? And personally, my take is, and always been, when I worked at the newspaper, if you're going to be a star, a public person, and you're going to live off public adulation, which these people do. They make their living because they're popular sports figures, and particularly Danica. She doesn't live off her racing winning; she lives off her celebrity. If you're gonna, you can't have it both ways. It's a two-edged sword, publicity, and you can't turn it off like a faucet. You can't be a big-name public celebrity when it's convenient, and then be you or me or Terrell Davis, Joe Sixpack when it's not convenient. So, that's just part of it. You make that bed and you lie in it, figuratively speaking. And I'm always a little aggravated when I hear a celebrity talking about how difficult it is to be a celebrity. Nobody made him be a celebrity, and they don't complain when all the big checks are rolling in. So that's part of it. And again, Joe, I guess to further rationalize what we're talking about here, the question is, how will it impact their performance in the sport on the racetrack?
Well, especially Danica and Ricky, because I think they're going to wind up racing against each other.
Will. And anytime, Joe, someone, personality, celebrity or not, goes through something traumatic like a divorce, it does have an impact on their life and on their performance. I remember Daryl Walter was talking about that when his first child was born. Anything that affects your personal life does carry over onto the racetrack. So that'll be interesting. Will it improve their performances on the track? Will it hurt their performances, or will we be able to tell any difference? But again, I think it's a legitimate question to ask and to discuss.
I think a lot of folks, Larry, especially on the NASCAR level, will start asking, well, with Danica and Ricky, if they're there running for the lead, if she needs help or an advantage, I think you've got to go back and look at where this sport started when you had the Flock brothers, you had the Allison brothers, you had all kinds of family involved.
And father-son.
And father-sons racing with each other.
Bobby, Davey, people like that.
Lee, Richard.
Right.
The whole bunch. And I think that's one thing about this sport that's proven itself over time, and that is, no, when it gets down to that last lap, I don't care. You can be my daddy. I want to beat you.
That's right, and that's what they all say, that they're cognizant of the fact that that's Bobby Allison's racing against his son Davey. Davey knows that's his dad out there. But when you're racing. Michael and Darrell Waltrip, they're racing each other, brothers. And I think that'll be the same way with Danica and Ricky when they're on the track. It won't be girlfriend, boyfriend racing each other. It'll be Ricky and Danica both trying to race for a position. I just don't think it'll have an effect on their on-track performance once the cars start. Now, the preparations and all the swirl of attention, which we're giving them now and everybody else around the country is, might that have an impact, in terms of the mental state, the preparations, all the swirl of attention? Again, that's a question we don't know yet.
Now let's talk a little bit about Dario and Ashley Judd. They're both, at the moment, or have been anyway, residents here in Williamson County, very close.
Yeah, Leapers Fork, out in rich people's country like you live in, Judd.
No. No, I live on the other side of that railroad track, brother.
But anyway, same county.
Yeah, same county.
And the angle there, obviously, is that's what brought Dario Franchitti to Williamson County, was his marriage to Ashley Judd. And Ashley said she wanted to be a country girl and live in the country, so that's what brought Dario here, which is the reason we're talking about it.
Yeah, and he, of course, grew up on farms and such in Scotland and in that area. Edinburgh, yeah. So, he knows how that is.
Working, driving a tractor, that kind of thing.
That's how he got started driving when he was 3.
Dario had never seen it. He wouldn't know which end of a tractor's at. But anyway, he did grow up in the country, and he agreed to live in the Leapers
Man's
Fork.
won 2-3 Indy 500s, won the Indy Championship, etc. Here's the thing that I think, though, that gets me about these two. You remember when the Indy folks came to Nashville the first time, Dario came with them, and was like, oh, wow, will his wife come? He was very clear with the staff, the announcers, and with the press that he would not talk about his wife. That she had her career, and you don't ask Tony Kanaan about his wife. If it's not something you'd ask Tony about his wife, don't ask me about mine.
That's what Dario told me one day in a fairly heated exchange at the Super Speedway. And I explained that Tony Kanaan didn't live in Leapers Fork. And if he did, then we would ask Tony Kanaan about his wife. And it was interesting, Joe. Dario, as you said, he thought Ashley should be off limits. And when I tried to interview Ashley about Dario's first race at Indy, she said no, she didn't want to be part of the story, that she wanted all the media attention focused on her husband Dario. I said, well, that's fair, I can understand that. We get to Indy, and you can't walk down pit road without tripping over Ashley Judd.
And her hat, yeah.
And her hat. She gets more pub and press and publicity that week than any of the other drivers combined, and yet, you know, here she was kind of shying away from the limelight. But anyway, that neither here nor there. I wish them both well. I like them both personally, but
I was saying,
I thought they
people.
were. Joe, I did think they both, Dario and Ashley, went a little overboard about don't let anybody know that
separation.
that we're together.
Yeah, it's a little hard not to know that.
Kind of silly.
Larry, you think this is just an indication of how intense and pressurized these occupations have become?
It could be, and you know, celebrity couples with separate careers. Dario is off at the racetrack, and Ashley's acting and going to Kentucky basketball games. Obviously, you know, I assume, I've never been in those celebrity circles, but you know, for a normal marriage, there are enough strains and, you know, tensions and that kind of thing. You can imagine it's multiplied with, as I say, a celebrity couple that's got so many people pulling them in so many directions, and Dario's got to be on the West Coast one weekend, and Ashley's got to be on the East Coast the other week. It's got to put a lot of strain on a relationship.
I wonder too, this comes out pretty quickly after Ashley's discussed maybe running for political office. I just wonder if she told Dario and he looked at her and went, "You're going to run as a Democrat? Are you crazy?"
It's still kind of, Senator Judd is still kind of hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Tell you what's not hard to say, Larry, and that's how good the breakfast is at the Batter's Box over at 43.
They have
Herman
breakfast
Gym.
there?
They do breakfast now. I know you're used to going over in the afternoon and watching a little sports and having a little
closing
beverage.
time was always more.
Well, you've grown. You're not holding out that late anymore. But they now do breakfast at the Batter's Box over on Herman Avenue. Go see Chris, all the guys. Tell you what, when we come back, the fairgrounds. What's going on there? Latest news is the latest look at the newest proposal. I'm not sure any of us are going to like it. We'll talk about that when we come back to Pit Pass.